new programming tutorial series, which I'm happy to announce that I am starting to create. This is Programming with Victor, but it's Scratch Edition. Now, for some of you, Scratch is going to be a whole new thing, but for others, you might have heard of it before, and you think, oh, it's just some kids' programming website. However, although there is some really boring stuff you can do, like whatever beginners do, and the tutorials for beginning projects, but there's actually quite a lot of fun stuff you can do, like some 3D games, platformers, and what I'm going to show you what to make in this tutorial is this fun little game. I'm going to call it It, and this is what we're going to creating today. Today we are creating the scrolling engine, which is basically we are going to make the map move along with the character, as you can see here. So let's do is open Scratch. This is a programming website which, as you can see here, it's the largest free coding community for kids. And basically there's a lot of fun stuff you can do, like I said before, but we're going to work on a project that is both simple but actually pretty fun to make. Let's go. So first thing we need to do, we need to press the create button. You should see this, you can close this. Oh yeah, but by the way, first thing we want to do is create an account if you don't have already, or sign in. I'm going to sign in real quick, but if you don't have an account, I recommend you press the join Scratch thing, because you can actually save the projects and share them and stuff. So I'm going to let you do that. If you haven't already, just pause this video, and it's pretty straightforward. But otherwise, I'm just going to sign in real quick and press create. So first thing we need to do, close all the tutorial thingy-majiggies and name our project. I'm going to name mine Scrolling Tutorial. But you can call it anything you want. It doesn't really matter. So what we want to do is delete the sprite 1 figure, because we're not going to really use it, and click choose the backdrop. This is a background if you haven't already used your common sense and figured that out. But if you have opened that, you should see this. Now don't click on any of the stuff like baseball, basketball, beach, colorful city, none of that. We just need to press the classic blue sky 2. Now before we start this, if you want your ground color to be this color, you can choose it, but I'm going to go on a bit more on the realistic side and choose it to be green. You can choose it any color you want, just adapt the scalers so that it has the color you want. And if you want to have a specific color, as you can see here, go to another project, use the backpack feature, import it, and then press the select tool. Next. Once you have done that, you need to delete this spot, which is a bug, whichever happens when you choose that backdrop for some reason, and create a new sprite. You can just press the paint, which should lead you to something like this. Now, all you're going to do is close it so that it has a back outline of black, then make it 1, and the fill color of whatever you want. Because I choose my background to be green, I'm going to go also on the realistic side in this and make it go a bit grey. See? Because, you know, most walls are generally topped with grey. And just design a map for like a puzzle. First of all, you always need to create some boundary lines, as you can see here. Very important. We don't want the player to just go off the map. That's a bit random. However, if you do want it to be like a bit of a prank or something, you can do that. But it just makes the game less laggy and more clear to create a boundary line. Then after you have created a boundary line, you need to go and put some more O's as obstacles. I'm going to do this. Then, after you have successfully choose all the obstacles for walls that you want, just press the code button, which is here. I'm just going to quickly leave it as that, but you can do even more elaborate. You can put brick textures and stuff, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go so that I'm not boring you with just randomly trying to edit my thing. Next, we need to make this bigger because as you can see here, this is actually moving, and it's, as you can see here, it's like 10 times bigger than this. So how do we do that? Although Scratch has a limitation on bigger sprites, with how big you can make them. For example, I can't make mine 500. It automatically stops at 148. So there's a limit. But you might be thinking, wait, this is still bigger than this. So how's that working? Well, the reason is we can bypass this limit by creating a simple dot. Nothing elaborate, just a simple dot always does the work properly, and make it switch to that costume first. Now, remember to do a one green flag clicked so that it or actually starts the project once you do this. But as you can see here, when I click this, it changes the costume to this dot. Now, you might be thinking, what does this have to do with anything? Well, just make it change size to, let's put 250, and then change the costume to our original wall, which is saved as whatever you named it. Now, this is actually really smart because it changed the size of the dot to 250, and then after you change the costume, the size still remains. However, Scratch is just like, leave it. So, we actually get a pretty big wall now. So, after that, you can see this, that we can scroll through it, however, we need to use our mouse. And if we do present mode, we can't drag it. Well, first thing we need to do is drag it so that it's to a position which you think makes a good starting point. You can even name it start, like I'm going to do. Change it color real quick. There we go. And then you have to go to motion and find the go to function and make sure that it has the numbers for the coordinates that you want it to be. It's gonna automatically be for most of the time. However, there's sometimes a weird glitch which makes it not have that. So just remember, make it so that it goes to that. And then you can now see that even if we drag it to the most random place, once we press the green flag, it should go here. Now, we need to import a character because how are we going to make a character walk through the whole maze? Well, we can just press choose a sprite, use something elaborate, like I'm going to choose this bear, make it smaller so it actually fits in the map. 35 is generally a good size, and do that. Next, I want to see this bear walk, so because it's not very realistic currently. So what we need to do is, I'm just going to see how well it works. That's a bit too fast. So if it goes way too fast, just make it have a wait. Let's make it so that it's actually clean. That's good. So we're going to do, now as you can see, we're going to make this bear walk, and this maze move as long as it walks. Now, although I'm just dragging it right now, we are actually going to make this move. Like, as you can see here, like this. So, how can we do that? Well, first of all, save the project. Very essential. This is the first part. Although it might seem like we've done something really simple, it's a bit of good knowledge to know how you can bypass this size limit and how you can import characters. So that's a good first understanding. The maze move. But first of all, let's fix this bear, because when it's not walking, like in this instance, it's still got the animation. So let's just make it so that it's when a key is pressed. Let's do if the left or right key is pressed, then change the costume as we want it to do. So we can do that by using an if statement, changing the key to left and right. Sorry, I just accidentally put right twice. Put left and right, and then put the costumes. So as you can see here, when I'm pressing the right key, it's going to make the bear animation move. However, when I'm moving the left key, it's also doing that. But it's the weird thing. It's still doing the walking right animation. So how can we fix that? Well, we can do this by using another if statement. We're going to be using if statements a lot. They're one of the most commonly used statements. So that's a good thing to know, and it's also pretty much similar in real programming like Python or JavaScript. So what we want to do is use another one of these if keys. If key, for example, left and right are pressed, and then do it so that it changes rotation. So first of all, if you can see, when I'm moving the direction, it just flips the bear around. That's just defying the laws of gravity. However, if we're doing it as we can see here, we're making the rotation style left and right, which makes it so that when I change the direction, it doesn't actually just absolutely flip the bear and defy the laws of physics, but just to make it turn around. And this is what we're going to be used. Although it's not really a smooth animation of look the bear turning around, we can just use it as this, as it probably works and is quite efficient. So make it so that it always starts pointing in the right direction. Make it so that when the right key is pressed, then that's when it points to the right direction. However, when the left key is pressed, make sure that it points at higher than 180 degrees or 0. So you can do it I'm just going to put minus 90. And as you can see here, when I am pressing the left key, it's going that way. However, when I'm pressing the right key, it's walking rightwards. That's just a simple thing I thought I should patch. Now let's work on the bees moving, which is the title of this part. So let's do when green flag is pressed. Let's use more if statements. You're probably bored of these, but I told you we're going to be using them a lot. And absolutely just duplicate these 4 times. Next, put them so that it has all the arrows. However, if you want to put WASD, you can do that. But just make it have all the arrows. And then make it move, of course. It's pretty straightforward. Change X, for example, if it's the right arrow. Let's just do 5 times. So as you can see here, it's going to move the other way, which might confuse you, but if you think about it, it's actually moving towards the right, which in coordinates, it goes from the left is generally 0 and the far right is generally a higher number. So this is actually correct. We need to make it have a minus 5 for it to walk that way. Now, another thing you might see, my bear can't walk towards the left side and it's just walking through walls. So we need to do this by, let's just duplicate this so that it's on the left arrow and make it a 5 this time. So now it's doing this. However, it's still walking through walls, which is impossible. But let's just fix that later. And then when the up arrow is pressed, minus 5. Change Y by minus 5. Remember, that's very key. We don't want when the up arrow is pressed for the wall to move towards the left. So now we can see we have a bit of movement in our game. Next, however, you might have realized we're just walking through walls. Well, to fix that, we're going to do if we're touching the player, which for my example is called, the sprite is called bear walking, then make it so that it doesn't move. Wait. Yeah. So make it so that when it's touching the player, then make it have so that it moves towards the opposite way. So if we do that, you can see now if I press that, it just stops it, which is basically collision physics. Now make sure that it doesn't touch the start as well. So next we have to do that for all of these. So I just recommend you duplicate, and then just change, for example, change it from a Y if it's that to a X. If we do that, we have now successfully made a scrolling maze. Now you can use this engine to make just a maze if you want to use a maze, but if you do, make sure that you put in the links. For example, make sure that you put my tutorial, as it will totally help, and it makes my job easier to make more tutorials. For some reason, yes, I know it might seem weird. It shares the link to more people, so that if more people are curious, more people can actually create this game. Now, you might be thinking this isn't really much of a game. However, by the end of this tutorial series, we will make a really good game with obstacles, like we need to go to the other sides of the maze, and that there are enemies trying to attack the bear, and points like honey, for example. And we're going to be completing all this by the end of a few tutorial videos, so make sure you subscribe to catch on those. Thanks for watching, and this is Victor.